sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances. Not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap, all in one, all for you. Tap in, zap in.
Welcome back, and for this second hour of Coffee Time, we turn our attention to a key figure at the center of the Gambia's transport and infrastructure agenda, Honorable Ibrahim Asila, Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure. He joins us fresh from assuming the chairmanship of the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, a regional body that plays a critical role in shaping maritime policy, port development and cooperation across 25 countries. We'll explore what this appointment means for the Gambia, for the region, and for the future of maritime transport. We'll also take the opportunity to get an update on the Barrow government's infrastructure program, the roads, bridges, mobility projects, and national priorities that continue to reshape the country. And of course, we'll talk about the new green ferry expected in Banjul soon, what it promises, when it's coming, and how it fits into the broader modernization of our maritime system. Honorable Silla, congratulations on your MOCA chairmanship, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Aji. Let me also take this opportunity to thank your audience, both online and also here in the Gambia.
For listeners who may not be familiar, what exactly is the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, and why does it matter to the region?
Thank you so much. The Regional Organization for Maritime Organization for West and Central Africa actually is an intergovernmental body that has been set up by the heads of state of West and Central Africa some 50 years ago to deal with maritime issues related to maritime security, maritime environmental protection issues, blue economy issues, which is now a new addition to what the mandate's supposed to be, and then also port development, harmonization of policies in the two regions. And this is very critical because we have 3 different languages, official international languages in this organization. We have the Portuguese, we have the French, and of course the English. And that convergence in terms of policy, orientation and policy lead is very critical for the development of maritime ecosystem in the regions.
What does this appointment mean for the Gambia standing in regional maritime affairs?
Well, as all other previous chairpersons that actually led the organization. The Gambia's one is also very critical in terms of, positioning the country in the maritime policy discussions, also directing issues related to maritime investment in the two regions, and this is very, very important, especially knowing that some few years ago, the world was rocked by COVID, and now imagining out of COVID, new policies are being initiated to revamp or strengthen, maritime safety, maritime security, and maritime logistic movement, within, the regions, but also, across the world. So Gambia will definitely be working with array of international experts, policy makers, investors, and also shipbuilders and merchant vessel owners who are trying to move goods through a very complex logistic environment from one end to the other.
MOCA brings together 25 coastal and land-linked states.
Yeah.
What are the organization's top priorities right now, and where does the Gambia, fit into that agenda?
Well, the most important priority for the organization right now is the setting up of a maritime bank.
Okay.
This is very important because within the environment of sourcing finance from the traditional financial systems is very difficult for the maritime sector to actually stand tall, in terms of access to financing. So it is very important that the countries within the region come together to set up this maritime bank, and the countries will be definitely shareholders of the bank as well as private sector players. And this will be a very catalytic start of putting on pedestal the need for proper investment in the maritime ecosystem. You know that at the early stage of our independence in the region here, we used to have the Black Star of Ghana and the Nigerian national vessel that used to do port-to-port call. But these things are no longer happening. Now, moving goods from one end to the other in sometimes can be very, very problematic and can take, days, months, sometimes, cause a lot of delays for certain goods to reach certain countries. Now, as part of efforts to really resolve this, funds will now be made available to the private sector and nationals that are interested in investing in, vessel ownership, either through co-ownership or individuals, to access these funds and then, have these vessels that can do port-to-port call in the region. Secondly, the shipyards. We have the biggest problem in the region is ship repair centers. Apart from, I think, Tangier in Morocco, we don't have any of that in the region here. So it's very important that the shipyards are taken very seriously in terms of having them in the countries, but also fully equipping them to deal with the emerging issues related to vessel problems. And this could not have come at a better time even for the Gambia, because we have already signed a concession with Al Barak, and part of the concession is also to build a modern shipyard in this country that will be fitted with all the necessary equipment. Now, if this bank is established and there is need for further partnership with other private sector players, the Gambia can fully recommend and support the concessionaire or any other investor to have access to these funds and then invest in the infrastructure. You are also aware that as a ministry we are trying to revive the river transport. And this is very critical for the Gambia because the Gambia is divided into two halves by our river, from this part of the country in the urban area all the way to the very end of the country. Now, exploiting the opportunities and also the economic relevance of the river would require some kind of investment and studies, which MOCA is ready to participate. And by the way, we are also preparing an investment forum for maritime transport in the Gambia next year around this time, so that we have all the necessary ingredients in place, not only people with knowledge and experience, but also people with the right resources and financing as private sector players, banks, financial institutions, to come to Banjul and have thinking about a model of financing maritime activities in the region. The other importance of having this bank is to support national small-scale SMEs in the country, especially those that want to invest in small pirogues, boats, to go at sea and nets. Sometimes it's extremely very difficult and expensive. Now that there are all these environmental concerns about, cutting down mahogany trees to turn them into boats. Now, there are ready-made fiber, boats that are manufactured, outside of this country, and it's extremely expensive for our local SMEs. During my last trip to Holland in Damen, to be precise, we have had a fruitful discussion with Damen Shipyard to explore the opportunity of, establishing a facility in the Gambia to manufacture these fiber boats. And can you imagine now what the materials that they are using for this fiber boat is of abundance in this country? It's plastic waste.
Wow.
Plastic waste. This will have a ripple down effect on different people within our society.
Yes.
You can have ordinary people to pick the plastic, assemble them somewhere.
Yes.
And then, it will contribute to the cleansing of the environment. It will also contribute to job creation. But the overall benefit is to have, the boats built here provide jobs and also opportunities for, SMEs. Through that, to encourage that to happen, you also need a strong financial institution within that ecosystem that can, really serve the purpose. And that is the missing link. That is why we all look forward to this, maritime bank being set up in, by MOCA to see that all these supports are finalized. And the other thing is, we do harvest we do catch a lot of fish in this country.
Yes.
But storage has always been problems to the point that now whatever is caught here, sometimes it is exported to neighboring countries.
Yes.
Or sometimes some of the vessels don't land here because there is capacity problem of storage facilities that can be used, or processing companies that can process these fish from their state into some materials that can be used for as export or local consumption. So the Maritime Bank, the relevance of setting it up is to support all these economic activities, to support countries, and also to drive the sector at its maximal value.
You've talked about the blue future in your earlier speech. Tell us more about it and its significance and why now.
Yes, the blue economy, as they call it, until recently, there have been a lot of misunderstanding about it. Even within the maritime ecosystem, many people don't understand what the whole essence of the blue economy is all about. It was disjointed.
Yes.
Now there is a very strong evidential programs out there that actually bring the fragmented sections of the blue economy and then force it into one. For example, if you look at our river or our ocean, we focus mainly on the fish. And until recently, also we are also thinking about deep sea mining of sand.
Yes.
But there are other resources within the ocean, within the sea, that can be actually harnessed to ensure that they contribute, monumentally to the economic development of any nation. But how also coastal states and the communities that live along this coast or river lines can benefit directly from the resources that are beneath the seabed, and also the coral reefs that can be protected environmentally, to ensure that environmental protection is at the very core and heart of any activity that will be done to exploit the blue economy, the resources under the sea.
The region faces issues like port efficiency, as you mentioned earlier, maritime security, and interstate trade bottlenecks. Which of these challenges will be top priority on your agenda as chair?
Well, they are all at the same level, because when you want to make if you make your ports efficient and then you ignore security at sea, you are still
contradicting.
Yeah, exactly. the merchant vessels and also those vessels that bring in goods will be kept at bay from your area, like we have witnessed in the Gulf of Guinea, which is in fact part of the MOCA group of countries. I mean, now what we are doing is to approach security within a fundamental prism that, look, you cannot develop your maritime sector when you ignore issues that stroke out, the problems of security. And that is why we are partnering with regional organizations, international organizations, to ensure that we look at the pattern of criminality in the region. We look at the profiles behind these criminal activities at sea. And when we say criminals, it's not only about those that take guns and then, take, ships at ransom and then, start demanding money. No, it's not only that. It's beyond that. It also involves those engaged in, oil theft, those engaged in, illegal oil bunkering, but also those that are engaged in illegal dumping of waste, toxic waste in our various waters, because that in fact has one of the biggest devastating impact on marine ecosystems and also even the fish that we all depend on for our survival. So therefore, I mean, we have discussed strategically a number of issues related to intelligence sharing, modernization of our various tools that we use, especially using data, using technology, using radar systems, and also collaborating with international, partners and countries with the capacity to be able to deal with some of these problems, so that by the time, they are occurred or about to be, happen, enough information is there for national security operatives to deal with some of those problems that we talked about before.
How can smaller countries like us, the Gambia, leverage MOCA to strengthen their maritime capacity and competitiveness?
Well, every country matters to MOCA, because solo you have your sea and your water bodies. You are a really important partner, even those without ozone, because they are also direct beneficiaries from the goods and services that pass through our ports and our waterways. So small countries like us, but big initiatives, critical, because what is important now is policy harmonization, pulling our resources together, bringing in confidence and credibility within the ecosystem, and ensuring that countries, partner to resolve a lot of issues, like, what things that we've been talking about in this program. You have big countries like Nigeria with a lot of resources, but yet they still have a lot of problems, within their maritime ecosystem. In fact, part of the biggest problems that, we have in the region in terms of, some illegal activities like oil bunkering, oil theft, and, also, piracy are happening in these big countries because they have resources. And because, they have resources, they are a prime target. However, those criminals might probably have their sleeper cells in countries that probably are smaller, and they don't have, the right architecture to detect. We have seen what has been happening in places like Somalia, Djibouti, and other places. So really, it is actually important, and I think the time is now for all these countries to pull together. The Maritime Bank that we've been talking about, no country alone can definitely shoulder the investment necessary, to deal with the modernization of the maritime systems in your country. Therefore, you need that financial, muscle outside or regionally to collaborate, and then to be able to cater for the investment. The other thing is to encourage more private sector participation. MOCA has realized before that we used to focus more on government policies, government issues, but over the years that has been proven to be inefficient.
Okay.
And that is why this year, we had this this just concluded meeting. We had so many private sector players that came. We have the African Ship Owners Association that came to look for opportunities, how they can partner with African governments to invest more on vessels and vessel ownerships. We also had banks and financial institutions that came to look at the opportunities within this region. Remember, this is one of the biggest, maritime regions in Africa. Okay. It stretches all the way from Douala, coming to Central African Republic, to Democratic Republic of Congo, coming all the way to Congo Brazzaville. Then you come to Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa, Dakar, Gambia, then Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Mali, Burkina Faso, and then stretching all the way to Equatorial Guinea. So it's a vast region with vast opportunities, even for maritime logistic, opportunities. So really, harnessing this economic opportunity for the region is phenomenal. And now the Gambia, our president will be at the center of this. Yeah. He will direct the affairs, organize investment forums or fora in different, either in the Gambia or in the different parts of the region. Also, initiating activities that will enhance maritime security, maritime safety, and, maritime environmental protection, but also, organizing activities that will link SMEs with financial institutions and also international shipbuilders that can invest either in the Gambia or in any other country within the 25 countries. And by the way, we have had, indication of 3 or 4 other countries that have expressed interest to join our organization. That will mean that, and that is why we passed a resolution at the just concluded meeting to turn the regional organization of West and Central Africa into an African Maritime Agency organization. Okay. So we have put in place the various documentations. Our experts have given us the various advices and the approach what needs to be done, and preparations are afoot now to approach the African Union so that this can be a recognized agency or organization under the AU and African Maritime Organization, so that all the regions that have their own regional organizations, like the Southern Africa, the Eastern Africa, then the Western Central Africa one, all of them will now merge into one to make it one African Maritime Organization. When that happens, if we are able to do that, the economic opportunities for the region is huge. Is uncountable, because imagine in Southern Africa or Eastern Africa or in our region here, the number of people with capacity to invest in vessels, to invest in harbors, to invest in port systems, but also to invest in policy and tangible studies that can enhance and also improve the marine ecosystems, in this country, that is, in this region, in the continent, that is phenomenal. And also, as a country, one thing that we have pushed, during this meeting, is to link our revitalization the river revitalization project with the development of tourism. Okay. Because one missing link in our hospitality industry in terms of the Blue Economy Initiative is that we don't have vessels or boats, luxury boats, that can, for example, when a tourist arrives at the Banjul International Airport, some of them would prefer they join the boat from Banjul and then they ride through cruise through the River Gambia to a tier 3 or tier 4 hotel. Yes. Along the bank of the River Gambia. So after this, definitely we will, through policy synergy, we will definitely approach the Ministry of Tourism, because this is one topic that came up during the meeting. Okay. That in order for maritime economy to be fully exploited, you have to link it to tourism also, so that investors can come and invest in cruise, vessels, cruise boats, to take tourists around, but also, invest in hotels and also areas that can be of interest to the visitor. So this is a great opportunity, knowing that, our economy, a greater chunk of it is coming from tourism.
Yes.
Therefore, helping diversifying the tourism products through maritime, will be a great added opportunity to our country's economic activities.
Talking about benefits, what practical benefits can Gambians expect from your leadership role, whether in port development, training, safety standards, or even maritime jobs?
Well, they are numerous. Even though the Gambia is not only, being chair for the Gambia alone, but of course, the Gambia is going to be at the center of all the activities.
Okay.
At the level of the activities, of course, we initiate at the level of the ministry and the GMA, Gambia Maritime Administration, and then His Excellency the President and Cabinet will link this to the overall government activities under the the National Development Program, NDP. And part of the benefit, of course, is to get investors to invest in the ecosystem, to invest in luxury boats and cruise vessels, in medium-sized ones that can travel from Banjul all the way to Basse, for tourism, to also support, training activities. Already that is happening. In fact, the Gambian participants just came from Indonesia, and we are already talking to the African Development Bank and also Singapore and other countries to support capacity building of, people that are working within the maritime ecosystem in the Gambia, but also in the region. The other thing is that we are strengthening the maritime academies, across the region, and Gambian students that are interested in being seafarers and also working as marine engineers will benefit immensely from this. Currently, the Gambia has about 15 students at the Regional Maritime University of Ghana, and the GMA is also about to, initiate a process to do, cadetship programs in this country up to the level of diploma. I think that initiative, we thank the Honorable Minister of Higher Education for his initiative on that. Right now, some of the courses that we have been sending our students to Ghana for are happening here at USET. So it will be a great opportunity now for us to have a lot of young people, trained in some of these very serious skill, shortage areas, because we, in our African region alone, we have more than 400,000 jobs needed on vessels.
Wow.
For more than 400,000 jobs. And we have less than 100,000 trained, capable and highly trained on seafarership and areas that can be utilized for this kind of skills development. So this is a very, very, very big opportunistic area for any country. Right now, if you look at Philippines, Philippines has more than 150,000 of its nationals on vessels across the world. Last year, we started training some Gambians here at the GTTI, former GTTI, now USET, for at least between 2 weeks and 1 month on basic, training on being on the vessel. But that is not enough. You need an institution or the TVET in this country that can train people up to a cadetship level of diploma, and then, place them on vessels, because while you are on training, you are already requested to be employed by ship owners. It's one lucrative area where you don't wait. Even before you finish your job. For example, all of our students that we send to RMU, most of them, before they come, they are already employed. right? And when you go on your, training program on the vessel, it's left to you either to come back or get employed internationally. Okay. So this is one area that I think, we have a great opportunity. We don't have diamonds and golds and oil in this country, but we have our sea, and now the sea is providing us greater opportunities than imagine. So, I mean, even providing TVET centers in this country, and, this is one area after we had some expert meeting, this is one area we want to meet Honorable Pierre Gomez for, because he's a very practical guy, somebody who is really, really up to the game. We'll approach him to see whether they can, provide, an opportunity for, programs on blue economy training, or placement or seafarership training, for under the TVET program. If that is possible, then we can train a whole number of young people. You don't need to be a university graduate or a high school, graduate to be able to do some of those things, because there are different types of jobs on the vessel. Some can be cooks, some can be waiters, some can be marine engineers, some can be other things. So if we can have an opportunity for that kind of training here for our TVET, that will be a massive opportunity for young people in this country.
Interesting, Minister.